I am pleased to be joined by Mihir Panda, sorry, and oh no, it's Pandya. I do apologise, Mihir. Sporting his favourite Barcelona strip and coming to us live from his car on I-295, and Fonz yapped on in his iconic Liverpool red, although not exactly the best choice after this weekend's action. But we'll get to that in just a second. We have a packed schedule for you today, so I'll just crack on and let you guys know what to expect for the next half an hour to 45 minutes or so. We'll begin by covering the weekend's Premier League games, trying to separate what's happening in the Champions League tonight, as we'll cover that a bit later. We'll have a quick discussion on one of Europe's biggest clashes over the weekend, Atletico Madrid versus Barcelona, before finishing up with some discussion on, you guessed it, the Champions League, and it is back in a big way already. So without wasting any more of your time, let's get on with it. So we'll start with the biggest game of the weekend in the Premier League, Manchester United versus Liverpool. Two clubs of the most storied, successful teams in English club soccer history, and the rivalry has always produced great matches full of drama. Saturday was no different. After a forgettable first half, the game sprung into life with 4 goals of great quality, plenty of talking points. So first off, we'll start with Fonz, and let's discuss the losing team, seeing as you're still sporting their colours even after that embarrassing defeat, and what it means for your club's season. So after losing to West Ham at Anfield by an embarrassing 3-0, how does this latest loss kind of affect Liverpool's season and Liverpool's chances of obtaining one of those lucrative top 4 spots for Champions League next season?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an expected loss. We had no Coutinho, we had no Henderson. Gomez is still an 18-year-old player, even though he was good during the preseason and the first couple of games. So, after a few good results early in the season, everything was bound to come down. Lovren's back to his old, really shaky form. Ings, Firmino, and Benteke have never played together. So that match against Manchester United was their first time on the pitch all at the same time. So you could really see that they were still figuring out each other, where everybody liked the ball, how everybody liked to move around the pitch. So I'm not surprised that they lost. I mean, it's embarrassing to lose 3-1 to Man U because they're our biggest rival. But, expect it. Don't expect too much of the team, and hopefully they'll improve.
Yeah, I think I agree with Fonz on the quality of play that's been going on with Liverpool. It's just it is hard to bring in all these players and kind of just expect them to gel together so quickly and so early on in the season. It's unfortunate that they had this fixture so early on. And I think if they did end up playing Man U later on, they would probably have better match. I'm not sure if they can still beat them, but I'm pretty sure the quality of the football would be much better. And I think Brandon Rodgers just trying to sign all these players to come in. It's just really hard with the big 4 over there. Manchester United, Man City, Chelsea, and Arsenal kind of just spending the big money, and it's hard for them to get quality players.
No, I couldn't agree more. They are kind of that second-rate team at the moment. So looking at the other side of the game and trying to avoid as much of the Champions League prognostications from tonight, just because of a shock loss to PSV, but we'll cover that in just a second. The first half did see kind of the home side find it difficult to break Liverpool down. Brendan Rodgers quite tactically astute, kind of packing the midfield. The second half exploded after an early Daley Blind goal slotted home from a well-worked free kick. Getting 3 goals against a much improved Liverpool back line, at least for the rest of their games, especially without Rooney, does bode well for United. But do you think that this is the start of things to come for a team that has looked more in transition than genuine title contenders, or was this an outlier, perhaps due to the magnitude of the rivalry and what still could be a difficult season for Van Gaal and his team?
I mean, it was a good match. They've really had a hard time scoring. And without Rooney for the next couple of weeks, it was really encouraging to see them score from a set piece, for Ander Herrera to get a penalty, and for Martial to come in. He's such a young player to come in and get the monkey off his back just to score right away. It's a really big thing for Man U. It's just a matter of can they sustain the quality of their play. Because when you have Fellaini up there, he's not really your ideal striker, and he can only do one thing, and that's head the ball in.
Yeah, I think I agree with Fonz and the struggle that they had with having Rooney miss those games and well so far only one in the Premier League, but trying to create kind of a play where Rooney plays a big part is that not only can he put the ball in the back of the net, but he has the vision to kind of spread the ball around, give it to the players that can find themselves open in space on the flanks or even in the middle. So yeah, they did miss him, but I think the scoring was great for them because it kind of opens up opportunity for some of the newcomers like Memphis Depay, Martial. They're all coming in and they can score goals. So that's definitely somewhere they'll be looking to go in those late games in the year where Rooney can't just shoulder all of the goals on himself. So yeah, they should. I still stand by my prediction of Manchester United winning the league. So you know what? Let's see how far they go.
Okay, well, you both mentioned it by name, and it was kind of one of the biggest talking points coming out of off the back of that match at the weekend. Anthony Martial brought in for £24 million in the summer. Quite a questionable move in some people's minds, considering the guy had only played 52 professional games. But stole the game with a wonderful display of Henry-esque dribbling before finishing it deftly past Simon Mignolet. So, we kind of talked about the goal scoring problems that United have, and really to compete in the Premier League, especially to compete for the title, which is where United's ambition lies. Do you see, that as a sign of things to come? Do you believe that Martial can score, 15 to 20 goals a season and carry the team at this stage, or do you still believe that lies with Rooney and kind of the more experienced players on that team?
I mean, I think you have to have a fusion of both because Rooney's a leader. He's been at Man U forever, but then people know what he is. He can't just reinvent himself anymore. He's a big striker. He can score goals, but if you isolate him, he won't. He's not like a Messi type guy who can score against anybody. He has to have service come in, and I think if Van Gaal alternates between having Martial lead the line or have Martial operate behind Rooney, just there's more speed and excitement in the squad. That I think that'll work better for everyone involved because Rooney won't have the pressure of scoring all to himself. And Martial, he'll get a lot of good experience. Memphis Depay can still, he's still adjusting his game. So they need somebody who's a cool head up there, who's unselfish, and can really lead them. And hopefully, they really provide the spark that Man U needs. And Van Gaal's a great coach. He'll find a way to integrate everybody in.
Fonz, I'm glad you used Messi as an example instead of Ronaldo, but we'll move on. I think Martial, he's a great young player. He has talent, which we saw over the weekend. He can come in and score those goals here and there, but I'm not sure he's ready to score, like you said, Peter, 15 to 20 a season just yet because he doesn't have the experience, first of all, to play in the EPL. It's a very well, not this season, but very defensive league where you kind of have to earn your own, to kind of go out there and score on a consistent basis. So yeah, I think they'll still look to Rooney and some of the more experienced players to score goals, and they're not going to put that many expectations into him, even though they spend quite a bit of money on him. But I think he can be a future star if he establishes himself over the course of his Man U career.
Okay, no, that's great, guys. And then kind of moving from one questionable title contender to another. Really, one of the biggest storylines coming out of this weekend from the EPL was certainly Chelsea's shock defeat at Goodison Park, leaving them kind of hovering above the relegation zone. In fact, if Newcastle had won on Monday evening, Chelsea would have been in the relegation zone come the end of week 5's slate of fixtures, which is not exactly the way Mourinho would have wanted to start this season. So speaking of Mourinho, there were some pretty rash reactions from some Chelsea fans on Twitter during the match, calling for his head. Given Abramovich's itchy trigger finger, do either of you believe that Mourinho to worry about his job security?
I mean, I don't think so. Mourinho, he's basically a legend already at the club, and he's not the type of guy who would get fired. He's going to leave on his own terms, just because that's his personality, and he'll never be pushed by anybody else, even his owner, who's paying a salary. I don't know. Abramovich should give him the benefit of the doubt because it's Mourinho, arguably the best coach in the world. But then, Mourinho, it's kind of what he's going to do. And, I think at this point, Chelsea fans are just kind of tired of everything he does, which don't help the team at all.
Yeah, I think I agree with Fonz once again on the kind of point that Mourinho is a whole different personality in itself, and it's hard for owners to get rid of somebody of that magnitude because of his history and his proven record over the years. But there comes a time where you gotta say enough is enough, or you kind of have to put your foot down as an owner. And I think even though Abramovich probably won't get rid of him, I think he definitely should. After if they end up mid-table, which is my prediction for the year, I don't think they can crack the top 5 after the way they've been performing, and kind of losing Courtois, defensive troubles, and just off-field antics that Mourinho keeps throwing out day after day in the media. I don't think that team, that locker room, is in any type, shape, way, or form to make a title run. And that's just my honest opinion on that. But yeah, I think Mourinho should be out, but he should still be safe this year at least.
Okay, so it's clear that both of you, Fonz, you definitely didn't see that Mourinho was the problem. Mihir, you kind of alluded slightly to Mourinho might be in the problem, but I think there are underlying issues definitely at Chelsea beyond the management. So this is the same group of players that won the title last year. They've lost very little. Lost Felipe Luis, who played a handful of games last season and was kept out of the side because of Azpilicueta and Ivanovic playing the fullback positions. Realistically, beyond that, they haven't really lost anybody who was of any starting quality in that lineup. So what do you guys feel has changed this year? Do you feel that there's a specific player to blame? Do you feel that they're slightly tactically inept? Or, as Mourinho even suggested in his post-match interview at Goodison Park, do you believe that just simply the universe is against Chelsea at the moment?
I think the biggest thing he needs to change is, Ivanovic just changing, being out of the team, because he's not, he's a slow guy out on the wing, and people can just run by him, get past him, and score easily, put the ball in, and he's getting up there in age. He can still score essential goals, but I don't think he should probably be either center back or just out of the team completely.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if there's one particular player that that's to blame for the troubles that they've been having all season, but I think it's more of the whole team's attitude in a way. There was an interview with Eden Hazard, talking about how he gets compared to Ronaldo and Messi because he's such a young talent and he's been doing well, but he mentioned something about after he scores a goal, he kind of just figures, that's it, I'm done for the day. It's just kind of like the little things, with the attitude of the players on that team. It's just there's no motivation to repeat, and I think that's kind of what's getting them in the back basically. And I think Jose Mourinho needs to somehow turn that around, or he should be on his way out. And it has nothing to do with the universe. Come on now.
So kind of almost a sense of entitlement then, Mihir. Kind of, a sense of complacency after winning the title.
Yeah, basically.
So looking at, it's easy to pick holes in Chelsea. Quite a high-profile team, lot going on at that club, and a lot to be concerned about. But we can't be taking anything away from Everton. It was a fantastic performance by them on Saturday. Stephen Naismith obviously came off the bench and scored, a perfect hat-trick, left foot, right foot headed goal, and played out of his skin. And Everton looked really, really solid across the board. So this was a club who finished 11th last year after a failed Europa League campaign kind of hindered the domestic performance, with no European soccer to contend with. Did this look like a team that can kind of push for European soccer next season, can push for kind of 5th, possibly even 4th, with, Mihir's bold prediction of Chelsea finishing mid-table? Are Everton one of those teams that will be in the mix come April, May?
I mean, they're always in the mix. It's Everton, Tottenham, Southampton. They're always around the 5 to 8 spots. And I think, Everton's looked really good this season. You have Howard, who looks like a top keeper again. Lukaku and Barkley are young players who look really good, and if everything works out for them, they'll challenge. I don't think they'll make it to the 4th spot yet, but 5th, 6th, beat Man City on the odd day, beat Arsenal or Man U, possibly Liverpool, hopefully not, at some point. So Everton will always be there, and I think this season they look really good.
Yeah, I think I agree with Fonz. Everton's always, been in the mix over the years, and they kind of prove that every year. They try to beat these big teams, big 5 teams, and they have all these great players. Like Fonz mentioned, Lukaku's a great young player who can play great at strikers. He can put in a lot of goals, and one of my Barca boys is over there, De La Feu. And he's a great player to have coming on just to kind of score goals, and I think they can definitely contend for if not a Champions League. Actually, no, I'll take that back. Definitely just a Europa spot. And I'm sad to say, but they could probably place above Liverpool on the table at the end of the year.
Oh, fight and talk already. Moving to kind of from one good performance to another, we saw Arsenal turn in their first truly Arsenal-esque performance of the season, dismantling a very unprepared Stoke side. Still, both strikers did provide some cause for concern. Theo Walcott especially, he was later replaced by Olivier Giroud, who kind of, between the two of them missed a slew of chances that could have put the game away long before it finally was. But do either of you still have concerns for Arsenal in an attacking sense, even though both strikers did actually get on the score sheet? Or do you believe that the problems at Arsenal run slightly deeper than just in the attacking phase?
I mean, I think it's more just like everybody finding their form again, because Sanchez participated in the Copa America, so he's not 100%. I mean, he's hit the post like 50 times already this season. He just has to get past that. And Walcott, he's adjusting to leading the line. He's usually a wing player, so this is a completely new position for him. And I think with Giroud, he's a good striker. I don't know why Arsenal fans don't like him, but you could also understand he needs to score more goals, and stay healthy. But I think Arsenal, they always start off the same way, and then by the second half of the season, they're winning games by 3 goals or whatever, and they're always among the top 3. And Wenger is just that's what he does. He gets them to the top 3. People call for his head, but he always makes it there.
Yeah, I think I would say the same, as in they obviously have the talent on the team. I mean, the team is filled with even depth. And they have a lot of young players coming in on the defense, in the midfield, and it's just a matter of finding their form. They can score goals, they can defend, and they now have a pretty great goalie in Peter Cech, who started off pretty poorly, but now he's starting to get into form, and they can definitely get back into the top 3, and maybe even contend for the second spot. And I think Arsenal, performing the way they did at the end of the year last year in the EPL, I mean, they were unstoppable towards the end of the year. They were, like you said, winning games by 3 goals or more sometimes. So it's just a matter of them keeping the form and kind of going forward with that. And trying to focus a little bit more on Champions League sometimes because that's one of their failures, or that's English clubs in general. But that's a whole different debate.
Well, it would be a shame to talk about the Premier League at all without mentioning, you both have mentioned a lot about chasing the title, but the people in the driver's seat at the moment, and again, trying to ignore the Champions League result from tonight is kind of an outlier on their season, but Manchester City have started the season in, dominant fashion. 11 goals scored, no goals conceded, top of the league with maximum of 15 points. What's changed for the City side, do you both feel, this year that struggled with a bit of consistency last season? Has it been a tactical shift from Pellegrini that you've seen, or has it been one of the host of new signings this summer, or kind of a collection of the new signings, kind of bringing in fresh blood, bringing in, taking away that complacency that City have often faced post winning a title?
I mean, I think a lot of it is just health. Everybody's healthy. Fernandinho's back. And they have Yaya Toure from the start of the season. Last year, he was away for the Africa Cup of Nations, which takes a lot out of somebody even like him. Yeah, and I think Sterling has integrated into the team like really well, really quickly, and he's looked really good, which is sad to say as a Liverpool fan. But yeah, everybody's healthy. Company looks confident again instead of the usually shaky guy he was at times last season and the season before that. And I think they just have a lot of energy right now.
Yeah, I would say the same as I think the biggest part is having everybody around, basically, because last year, like you said, Yaya Toure wasn't around, and I think Yaya Toure makes up a great big part of that midfield. And when Yaya Toure is healthy and performing well, that Man City tempo, it kind of comes to play. And definitely the new signings coming in, like Raheem Sterling, are big additions to the team. And as much as Fonz might not enjoy that he's been a pretty good part of that attacking force over there in Man City. And obviously the resurgence of I mean, I'm not necessarily resurgence, but I think Sergio Aguero has been a bit more motivated to go out there and try to win some titles, because his Argentina squad can't get anything. It's 2 summers straight where they've made it to the final and they failed. So, it's just kind of a collective, a thing with all the players kind of just coming together and performing, and that's just something that they couldn't do last year, even though they had the talent to do so. So it's pretty good for them, looking good.
Okay, and one kind of final Premier League question just before we move on to the big game on the continent. This may be a tad premature, and obviously tonight's result kind of might sway the way you guys might shape this question. But City have started, as I said, in the lead into this dominant fashion. Haven't conceded a goal yet. Joe Hart's on fire. They've added a lot of depth, especially at the creative positions. Took away some depth at the striker position, just Boney and Aguero, and especially with Aguero's injury history, might see Boney might see a lot more of the field, and whether he can carry the load on 2 fronts is still in question at the moment. But with the way City have started, and with the way they've dismantled teams like Chelsea. And they dismantled West Brom, completely massacred West Brom on the opening month. Do you see City as a contender for maybe going undefeated, for doing the Arsenal invincible season again at this early stage?
I mean, I don't think so. I think a lot of it is like what Chelsea did last season. You're a different team. You go out, you destroy everyone, and then if somebody gets hurt, if Aguero or Toure gets hurt, you have a little buffer of points, so that you can have a draw or a loss every now and then. And I think especially with the new money coming into the league, they have a lot of good players now. I mean, Stoke, even though they're not playing well, they brought him Afellay and Satsiri, who are both like really talented players who haven't had the great careers, but who could still make a lot of difference in the Premier League. So I think teams are a lot more confident now. We'll see a lot more goals. and teams aren't afraid of, because they have more players who are used to playing these big type matches. They won't be intimidated by playing a City or a Chelsea. They'll say, okay, we can beat you, and we will.
Yeah, I think I don't think they can pull off the invincible season. They so far, I mean, they've played some quality opponents, like you said, but Chelsea are struggling. West Brom, come on. And I mean, it's just when they start facing all the big teams, I think they'll definitely get the real test of what the EPL is this season. Obviously the derby would be a huge game, and especially if everybody's back to full health, and that can definitely cause for a loss of some sort. And I'm not sure if Man City are still ready to take it to the next level, just because of the amount of pressure that the Champions League fixtures add onto them. Usually, when it comes time to the knockout stages, that's when they start performing really poorly in both Champions League and EPL, and that kind of just gets them every single year. And they barely got by Liverpool a couple of years ago, and it's just kind of a hard task to do. So for any team, for that matter. So I don't think Man City can survive that kind of play, especially because of the lack of experience in the players. There's a lot of young players in that squad. So
no, that's fair points from both of you. I mean, I think, as I said in the lead into that as well, it is a bit of a premature argument just now, but maybe in a later edition of this podcast, if they've still not lost a game, 15, 20 games into the season, maybe we can start contemplating that notion. So moving on to kind of our next segment, the big game on the European calendar this weekend. Here's Barcelona faced off against supposed title rivals Atletico Madrid. After being relegated to the bench, none other than Lionel Messi came on, changed the game for Barcelona. Sitting precariously at 1-1, the Argentinian was introduced and ended up notching the decisive goal in truly Messi fashion. How important was it for Barcelona to assert their dominance this early in this early season tie, given all the talk about another Atleti title push after the transfer activity this summer?
I mean, Barcelona came out there and they said, even though struggling with injuries, even if none of our new signings can play until January, they said, we can still perform in the biggest matches. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if this could be a theme we see throughout the season where, Enrique benches Messi for the first half, makes him come on with 30 or 40 minutes left, so that he's fresh, and he can stay healthy throughout the season. It's kind of like what the Spurs do in basketball. You kind of make sure he's ready because he played in the Copa America, played in pretty much all of the matches last year, so he's definitely feeling a bit tired. It's just a matter of, will everybody else, like Rafinha or Neymar or Suarez, can they supplement the scoring if Messi isn't on the field?
yeah, I think it was a huge match for Barcelona in this early stage, definitely, because they kind of have to just hang around in the league until they can actually have those new signings play in January, because if not, then Real is definitely going to run away with it. And this match was huge because if they had lost those 3 points, that then you have all three of the teams kind of contending for the title. And it was just a hard early stage match where a lot of the injuries occurred right before. But thankfully there was a 2-week international break right there, so that kind of helped prepare for the match. And I think one of the reasons that Messi didn't, well, I know for a fact that one of the reasons that he didn't start because my other beloved team, Dallas Cowboys, prepared the stadium really poorly for the soccer match that Argentina played against Mexico, and he was just tired, very tired from that match because that pitch was horrific. So, he came out there, obviously, played the superhero role that he always does. But it is kind of concerning that, they couldn't find those goals before he was, introduced onto the pitch. Neymar had to score off of a direct free kick, which was amazing. But, that's not something that you're always going to get. That's not a favorable situation. So it's kind of something to be concerned about, in the latter stage of matches, to kind of have all the other attackers, score some more goals so they can take the pressure off Messi.
Yeah, no, I agree with mostly of what both of you have said. So kind of look into the other side. Madrid, Atletico made a lot of splashes in the transfer window this year. 2 years removed from that dramatic title win against none other than Barcelona in the last game of the season in the Nou Camp. How much does this loss set back Madrid's chances of pushing for the title, especially given the lack of points that both their crosstown rivals Real and Barcelona tend to drop during the course of a La Liga season?
I mean, this is the perfect year for Atleti to surprise somebody because Barca, as I said, they can't. None of the new players can play until January, and Madrid are still adjusting to Rafa Benitez's coaching style and playing style. So it's just a matter of can they, figure everything out before Barca and Madrid really get going. They have the talent, they have the know-how, a lot of veteran players on the team. It's just can they put it all together and upset the balance of the La Liga once again.
Yeah, I think Atletico they're still in the running. It's way too early to throw them out because a lot happens over the course of the season. There's always injuries, there's always favorable matches, there's always upsets. So they're always going to be right there, right beneath the big two. But I guess one of the biggest concerns was that this was in fact a home game for them. And the next time they do play Barca, that's going to be, and they've done it before, but that's a hard thing to do, is to come out with 3 points out of the Camp Nou. So I think they will definitely continue to be right there on the third spot and just hope for the best, I guess, that one of the lower teams kind of upsets the balance at the top to kind of grab onto that opportunity.
No, that's fair enough. So, I can hardly contain my excitement really, because tonight was obviously, as I'm sure both of you were aware, and many of our viewers will be as well, that the Champions League has finally returned again. Some shock results this evening, some good games coming up tomorrow as well. Let's start with tonight's action, and let's talk about a club we've already kind of talked about, in United. Suffered what might be described as a shock loss to PSV tonight. Biggest story coming out of that was Luke Shaw going down. It has been confirmed as a double leg fracture. Timescale for that is usually around 8 or 9 months for recovery, so that's a big blow to United in terms of losing Luke Shaw tonight. But the takeaway for me was, as a United fan myself, was that United struggles. United shown a struggle early returning to the Champions League after 2 years. Do you still think that United are the favourites to win their group, or is the shock of returning to European football and realising the quality of some of these teams that maybe us as analysts write off? Do you believe that United maybe are showing signs of trouble, especially given their questionable start in England as well?
I mean, I think a lot of it was the coming off playing Liverpool, a very emotional match, and to have to change gears again in the middle of the week and play a team like PSV, who you don't see ever really. I think it's a bad loss, but I don't think they're in any danger of not making it to the next round because they're just that good, and they're ahead of everybody else in the group. But I think it's more good on PSV. They saw Man U and they said, okay, we can beat you, and they did. I think a lot of it. It's really unfortunate that Shaw's injured. Now, hopefully, he'll get back to playing football sooner rather than later. And yeah, I mean, it's a bad loss, but it happens.
Yeah, I think any big team are always prepared for losses like this, and even though they might not have huge names, to back him up, I think they'll definitely bounce back. I mean, as for the game in itself, PSV, I guess they've always been a pretty good team, but they lost a lot of players. One in particular, Depay to Man U, and they were still, able to come out and give this quality performance and take down, these English giants. But this kind of just underlines the struggle that English teams have had in the Champions League, and kind of just the quality of football that they have to endure throughout the weeks, over in the EPL, and then come over here and start playing European teams. It's hard to do, and for Man U to duplicate the success that they had against Liverpool without Rooney was kind of just hard, in such a short time to recover from that. So. I think they'll be able to bounce back though. So the season is long, group stages are long, so they'll be back.
Yeah, I think the emotions of the Liverpool game were maybe at play with the performance. Whereas I was slightly worried about the PSV game beforehand. Just the Dutch, always produce cohesive team units. They usually grow up together, these teams, and proved it tonight. But perhaps the most shocking result of the evening, obviously United a shock loss, but they still are a team in transition. Form is kind of, spotty at times. City started the season, we've already talked about them, started the season in great fashion. But tonight's loss kind of maybe coming as a bit of a shock. Still at home, and yet still couldn't get that Champions League monkey off their back. Still really struggling in Europe. What does City need to do to change to give themselves confidence to play well in Europe?
I think a lot of it is just being able to adjust your style, because Juve, they use a lot of long balls, and that just completely scrambled company. So I think they have to get used to not seeing a Premier League team that's always kind of energetic, defensive, strong, and get used to playing against teams that feature different kinds of lineups, different kinds of players. Because Juve, they reached the final of the Champions League last season, so they know what it takes to win, even though they lost to Pirlo and to Tevez. Pogba's arguably like the best young midfielder in the world. And Buffon, you really have to work hard to beat him. So, I think a lot of it is just getting the mentality of we're in Europe, this is a big game, we need to win.
Yeah, I think it's actually very surprising. I'm not even sure how to put it in words, because Juve, they've actually been struggling in Serie A, if you've been keeping up with them in the domestic league. So I don't know how they, turned this around and came out and gave this huge performance against Man City, and it was the complete opposite for Man City, with where they're dominating over there in the EPL, and they come over here and just like lay an egg. I'm not sure how that happened, but obviously the quality of the players on Juve definitely play a huge part. Like Fonz said, Buffon is a great goalkeeper, and it's just really hard to get past him, even if you have, the great players that Man City have in their attack. But I think, overall, I think Man City should be able to get by group stage. I mean, they've had some, but I think their biggest monkey, so to say, on the back is advancing in any of the knockout rounds. So I'm not sure, they'll be too worried about this loss, but I think they definitely need to find a way to win some games in the Champions League, and try to beat these big European teams, or even the small ones.
So looking forward to tomorrow's games. Obviously, again, a full slate of 8 games from Group E to H. Which tie are you guys most looking forward to tomorrow, and why, really?
I think the answer has to be Barca versus Roma. It's the winners of the Champions League last season versus a Roma team that, they're not the best Italian team, but they're always up there, second or third. And I think it'll be interesting to see how Barca are able to keep up with playing, with having such a thin squad and dealing with all these injuries. Will they be able to maintain the same intensity, or will they kind of rely on just holding onto the ball, making sure Roma doesn't score, and hoping for a draw, because they know that if they draw Roma, or as long as you don't lose, they're probably going to win the group. I think hopefully that game is much more exciting than anything else.
Yeah, I think that's probably the highlight game of the day tomorrow, with Chelsea and Arsenal taking on weaker opponents. That would be interesting to see if Chelsea drop any points there. Just with that whole situation. But yeah, definitely Barcelona versus Roma, because Barcelona obviously a big team, probably the greatest club to ever play soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. I'm just whatever. But no, I think Roma is a great quality opponent. Over from Serie A, and they have some great names up there. These teams actually met in the preseason, and Messi got into a little argument or little fight.
We appear to be having a small amount of technical issues with Mihir just now. Hopefully he'll join us in just a second. Fonz, just a quick take for you for the other teams, and mainly looking at the English teams that we've already kind of talked about for tomorrow's game, just while Mihir kind of tries to rejoin us. I mean, do you see both English teams notching wins? Arsenal having to take a tough trip to Croatia to play Dinamo Zagreb. Chelsea really should be thwarting Maccabi Tel Aviv, probably the weakest team in their group, at home. But with domestic form the way it's been, do you see either of these teams slipping up, and who's perhaps more likely to do so?
I mean, given their recent really shaky form, I think it's definitely Chelsea. But I don't think Mourinho's going to allow them to lose this game. He'll be on his team. He'll say, this is a perfect chance for us to turn our season around. It's against a weaker team, a smaller European team. So I think it's just a matter of them maintaining their superiority and the confidence over, a Tel Aviv team who's, just happy to be there. And for Arsenal, I think it's more they need to, come back. They need as many points as possible, because they're in a group with Bayern. I don't think they want to be second again, because that usually means they're going to lose in the next round. So get as many points as possible. You have to travel to Croatia, but power past it, and you really just go for it, because you don't want to rely on having to beat Bayern down the road to get to the next round, because that's not going to happen.
Seems to happen all too often, doesn't it? Nice of you to join us again, Mihir. Glad to have you back. And just to finally wrap this thing up, with the Champions League just starting, it'd be rude of us not to get our prognosticating caps on and pick an early favourite. So who do you see? Who do you see as the early favourites to lift the trophy in Cardiff in around 9 months' time? Do Barca have the capability to repeat as champions for the first time in the Champions League era, or do you see another team with their name printed on the trophy?
I think it's still Barca. They are still the winners. You always expect the winners to repeat. They have Messi, best player in the world. They have Neymar, Suarez, top 5, top 10, depending on your view. And everybody's coming back. And once we hit January, Turan, Vidal, they're going to be there. They're going to be excited. They're going to be rested. So they'll provide a big boost to the team. But I think Bayern has to be another team to see, because this is Pep's third year. The team knows what's expected of them. This is Lam's last year, I think. I think he said that already. So they really need to figure out what it takes to win. And Pep, he's a winner.
It would appear that Mihir has lost us again. So, these things happen, unfortunately, perks of, trying to broadcast from your car at the side of I-295. So with that, I'll just wrap up and say, I'd like to thank both Mihir, if you can hear us, and yourself, Fonz, for your time and some excellent opinions there. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've been Peter Benson on behalf of Sidelines. Thanks for watching.